Next, we want to look at our demo digital asset management publication. It has pretty much the same structure. It has again administration for the user management and the groups, as we have already seen in the content management publication. So I will not show it again. Then we have workflows. This time I will open the workflows and show you how to create new workflows. You can delete workflows and edit workflows. So let's pick, for instance, the release workflow, which is a very simple one with just 2 users involved. Then let's maybe take a look at the demo workflow, which is a little bit more complicated. So we have a user that will start the workflow. We can now click on this user and see that it can be anybody that can start the workflow because it's automatic select. If you don't want that, you can also pick a specific user from the list. You can also select a user group. That means all the users that have a membership in this user group. And then you can also restrict the permissions, in this case for the user that creates or uploads a new item has only read and edit permissions. So he cannot publish the content, for instance. The next user, the user 2 or the user 3, so both of the users can be a member of the next step and can execute the next step. We can again open it and can see we can select a user group. In this case, it must be a member of the user group administrator. He will take over the content from the user start, and he will also redirect it to the user start in case he will decline the content. And the permissions are read and publish. So the user can only read the content, but he can also publish the content, but he cannot change the content. And if you want, you can set the user active or inactive in this workflow. Last step, we see a script or a so-called robot. The script is a user that doesn't really exist in the system. It's some kind of functionality that can actually execute a step in the workflow automatically. So we'll take a look at the workflow scripts a little bit later. Of course, you can save the workflow, you can add new users and assign it into the workflow. You can remove inactive users, you can add new scripts, or you can also remove unused scripts in the workflow. In order to apply this workflow to a certain folder, we need to select one. So in this case, we can select a workflow. We can select maybe a specific folder that the workflow should be attached. So in this case, let's select the marketing folder. And now, after I save the settings, the workflow will always be executed for all new objects that will be created inside the marketing folder. Now let's take a look at the workflow scripts. So a workflow script can be created, it can be deleted, and we can take a look at it and change it. So here's just a short example of a script. You also will find an example using the help. So what you can do is, for instance, you can grab the content of this item. If the content is not empty, you can select the keywords. So if the keywords are actually not empty, we want to publish the object automatically. This is just a short example of what a robot can do. Of course, you can do pretty much everything that the system API offers you. So, for instance, you can also resize images and publish them to different websites. Next, let's take a look at our templates. We have component templates. Template includes, so code fragments that can be used inside the other templates. We have metadata templates and template media. We don't have page templates since we are not managing any pages here. What is important is probably just a metadata template, because if you're operating just an asset management solution that stores mainly assets without any other type of components, you just want to define a metadata schema. So you can create a new metadata template, you can delete a metadata template, and you can also change an existing one. In this case, we just have one metadata template, and here I see all the definitions. So we have a field named title. The label is also title. The label is used to display an expression or also an explanation to the user. Then we have just additional information that this is a metadata field, and we can also define a height and a width if we want to, and so on and so on. So we have different kind of fields that we can use. So for instance, it can be a geolocation field, it can be an unformatted text, a formatted text, it can be a selection of text options, a checkbox, a date field, a keyword list field, unformatted comment, a formatted comment, it can be a watermark options that we want to use for the image, it can be a single component, that means it refers to one single asset, or it can be also any type of component or multiple components or assets. We can use a database connectivity, which is not important right now for us. We can also attach, if we want, a workflow to a specific type of assets that are using this template. We can add a HyperCMS script, means a systems API script. We can add also JavaScript to our forms. If, for instance, we want to disable certain fields when a specific value is selected in another field, or maybe a checkbox has been selected. So you can also add logic using JavaScript. More details you will find in the template designer's guide. Here we'll see some more examples and have more detailed explanations. You can insert a date and so on and so on. I don't want to go too much into details, but this is how you can actually define your metadata schema. Again, we have access to our versioning, so if you create different versions over the time, you will have access to it, and then you have just some basic information. So next we want to take a look at the license notification. The license notification can be used to notify users if a license will expire. So what we need to do, we need to define in what field we actually are saving the license date, what date format are we using. Then we can also define a list of users. Then we can say we want to be notified 1 month or 1 week or daily prior to the event when the license will not be valid anymore. We can also select a certain folder that the license notification should be applied to. So I just will select the marketing folder again. And after that, we just need to save it. Next, we have the metadata mapping. This is a mapping of existing metadata schemas of, for instance, images, which might use IPTC tags or XMP tags, Dublin Core namespace tags, and so on. Also Adobe's namespace tags. So you can map these standardized tags that might be saved in images or also in videos, in audio files, and you can map the information to your own metadata schema. So that way all the existing metadata in the files will be mapped to your own metadata schema. So you can just simply change it again if you want to. Next, we have a content or metadata hierarchy that you can define. I will just simply select an existing one. So here we see on the first level, we want to see the creator. The creator is a metadata field, and we can also see it here because this virtual tree, navigation tree, is based on our definitions here. So when we open it, we will see there are different creators. And on the next level, we see the title, the description, and the keywords. So when I open it again, I will see the description, the keywords, the title. If I open the title, I will see the title of an image of the specific creator named Coffee. So this way you can create multiple virtual navigation trees depending on your use case. Next, we have the taxonomy. Keep in mind that the taxonomy needs to be enabled for your publication. In this case, there is no taxonomy actually defined, so you have to build your own, but the system will come with a predefined taxonomy that you can use, but of course you can also create your own taxonomy. If you want, you can also import the existing taxonomy, or you can export your taxonomy again and open it in an Excel sheet. This taxonomy is also based on a hierarchy, so you can create a structured list of keywords in different languages. So all the languages that have been assigned to the publication you will see here. Of course, you can also deselect a language that you don't want to see at the moment. And then you can go ahead and say, I want to fill in a certain expression. Let's say I want to type in car, and I want to translate now from English to German. And the system will automatically translate the expression. It will also do it, of course, for multiple rows. So when you add a new row, for instance, and another new row, and so on, you will just pre-fill it, and you will also select the level that you want to have this expression on, and you just pre-fill it, and then you can automatically translate it into different languages. Of course, you need to save the settings, and if you made any changes to your taxonomy, you might also want to apply the changes, because it might affect a lot of your assets that are using this taxonomy. Where are you actually using the taxonomy? You will see later on in specific keyword fields. We can refer to the taxonomy or also to specific sub-branches of the taxonomy. So now we finally want to take a look at our assets. Let me close those trees and let's open the assets tree. The assets tree is based on folders. So you can create folders that should be usually based on your organization. So the marketing department has access to all the assets in the marketing folder, for instance. And you can break down the structure based on your folders. Keep in mind that you can create virtual navigation trees based on the metadata that you're using for your assets. Let's open the graphics folder. It holds several images. Maybe we want to go back to our thumbnails preview. So we see all the different images that we have stored here in this specific folder. Let's take a look at some of the features of the graphical user interface. As you might have noticed, there are certain columns. For instance, you can sort all the items according to the file size. Maybe it makes more sense to switch back to the details view, so you can do the same again and see also the actual file size in the column. If you want to see more information in the columns, you can always right-click on the header and select any type of meta information that you also want to see in a new column. Let's go back to the thumbnails view. What might be also interesting for you, you don't want to select only one item. Maybe you want to select several items at once because you want to change several images at once. So what you can do, you can use the mouse to select multiple items using the area. You can also use the Control or the Shift key. So I'm pressing the first item, I'm holding the Control key and select multiple other items. The same with the Shift key. I press the first item and I select a range of objects. What can be interesting? Maybe you just want the download links directly. What are download links? Just a small explanation. If you open any asset and click on the Information tab, you will see that there are different types of links. So there's a wrapper link. If you include the wrapper link of this image into, for instance, your website, the image will be displayed. The download link is used to download the asset. So that means the system will force a download. An access link means if you send somebody this access link and you click on the link, for instance, in an email, you will be automatically logged in using the given credentials and the given user permissions of the account that has been assigned to the access link. So if we just want to see or work directly with download links here, we can use the Alt key. You will see the background color has changed. And what we can do now, when we right-click again an object, you will see that's the standard browser context menu. So what I can do here is I just can copy the download link and maybe paste it into my emails. So that's just a faster way how to access download links that you might want to use in one of your emails, for instance. Let's go back to the normal view. What you can also use is there's a sidebar. Let's activate the sidebar. Whenever I select any of those images, I will see a larger preview and I will also see some additional information, including the metadata as well. Besides the sidebar and the preview, you can always select any asset and you can have a larger preview. So it will be pretty much occupying most of the screen. So you can have a more detailed look on your asset. There's also a filter. So in case you mixed up different types of assets in the same folder, you can apply filters. Let's say you just want to see components, images, documents, videos, or audio files. The live view is disabled because in this case there is no live view available. Of course, you can open the document in order to change the content, the metadata, or the asset itself. You can rename the asset, you can delete it, you can cut it, you can copy it, you can again create a connected copy. I already explained before what a connected copy is. I just repeat it again. So whenever you create a connected copy and you paste the object again, you will have two objects using the same content. That means using the same, for instance, image and also the same metadata. Maybe you're using different templates for different presentations of the same object. So that's the reasoning behind this feature. And you can paste. Again, the same features you will also find here: cut, copy, connected copy, paste. Next we have the upload. I will show you this feature later. You can also download the file. Depending on the system configuration, you might find not only a download of the original file, but maybe also of different variants of the same image in different sizes, maybe even different formats, or a download to your Dropbox account. So this might change depending on what type of asset. Is it an image or is it, for instance, a document? So if you take a look at documents, so in this case we have, for instance, a Word document. Again, I will click the download file. What I see here is now I can again download the original Word document. I can download the same document as a PDF file or as an open Office document file, as an image, or again Dropbox. If I select the video, it will be again different options. But let's go back to our graphics folder and just continue with the other features. So we can create, of course, a new folder, just provide a name. We can create a new object. This is just used if you are using components. So I will not present you this feature right now. You can also compress files. That makes sense if you select, for instance, more files and you want to create a compressed file. This is to uncompress a file. This is the send email link feature. I will just show you this feature right now if I click on it. You can now send an email to any of the users, or you can also type in a new email address, so of a user that doesn't even exist in the system. In this case, a new user will be created, and depending on your system configuration, he might have default permissions because he's assigned to a default group, or in some cases you can also assign a group to this user. Then you have a carbon copy, a blind carbon copy field, a subject, a message. It's pretty much like a normal email that you will write to somebody or maybe to more people. And then you have the option, do I want to send download links, access links, attachment? So the download link means if I click on the link in the email, I will immediately receive or download the file. If I send an access link and I click on the link in the email, I will be automatically logged in the system and see the files that you have provided to me. Attachment will be like a normal email. The files will be attached directly in the message. This doesn't make much sense, especially when you use larger files. I would not recommend this option. It's just here if you want to use it for small files. Then you can also select download formats. So whatever you have been selected here, if it's an image, a document or video, you can also restrict certain file types for the user. So in this case, maybe I don't want him to download the original image file. I just want him to download a very small image that fits in a frame of 640 by 480 pixels. What else is there that we can use? We can also set a period when the access will be restricted again. So let's say I want this link to be valid for 3 days and maybe 2 hours if I want to. So after this time, the link will not be valid anymore. So I cannot download or cannot access these files anymore. I can also include the metadata in my messages, and I can create a new tasks for the users that I'm sending this message to. So I can set a priority if I want to, and I also can set a start and end date for the task. If I want to, I can also force the system to send the email at a certain date and time. Other settings are I can also send the email to a user group, so all the users of the group will be notified. Some other settings are here. In case you're creating a new user, you can also select the language for the user interface if you want to. And in this case, we see there's a default group, so I cannot change actually the group. And the formats we have already seen. So this is the mail link feature. Again, we have publish and unpublish, which I've already presented you in the content management system publication, so I will skip this. The search is very similar to the one that you have already seen before. It's just a search that is now only looking in the current location for your assets. Yeah? And you have a little bit a larger user interface that you can use. There is a feature, however, that might be interesting for you, so you can search and you can also replace certain expressions in the current location, all the subdirectories and all the medias that are saved in this location. Let's close the search window again. What else do we have here? We can also import metadata. Just make sure that the metadata IDs match the column names in your Excel sheet or in the comma separated value file in this case. If you select multiple items, you can also export them and all their metadata as a comma separated value file, and you can open it in Excel, for instance. Now let's take a closer look at one of these assets and what you can actually do with one of these assets. So I simply double click the asset, and now we opened one of those assets, and what do we see here? Again, you will see the taskbar with some of the features. We know this already. That's the preview. We can upload or replace actually the current file if you want to. We can download it. We can send it again. We can add it to our list of favorites. We can lock it if you want to. The workflow has been disabled in this case. Publish, unpublish, refresh, and the help. On the right side, we can share this asset in different social media platforms. You can simply just click on one of those icons if you want to share it. We can, of course, we can save it, we can print it, but also will be important for you, you can see the number of views. So we had 36 views on this item, just one download and one upload so far. The annotation toolbar that you see here can be used to place markers on the image or to just place annotations on the image. So in this case, we already have a marker which is used for a building. Of course, you can set any other marker if you want to by simply clicking on an object and provide a name. I can use these annotations up there to just select any kind of tool. So in this case, it's again the arrow tool to place another arrow. And then I can use the text tool and say, I want it in blue. So I'm pretty much using annotations, for instance, to communicate to other people. So for instance, a designer that is actually working on the image, that I want to have some changes on this image. Or maybe also on a document. So you can also use the same annotations for documents as well. You can just simply go through all the different pages and place your annotations in there. When we scroll down, we will also notice an edit button, so you can change the image. But let's just go through the metadata fields. So in this case, we have different metadata fields, a title, a description, keywords, keyword fields. There are a lot of options. If you're using, for instance, a list of keywords that is attached to your keyword field, you might see, for instance, I start typing A, I will now see a selection of all the different keywords that I can simply select. Maybe I have to select one item from this list. Maybe I can also say, I create my own new keyword. The list of keywords can also be provided by the taxonomy. So you select pretty much an item of your taxonomy. And in this way also the system can know where this item in your structured taxonomy belongs to. What else? There's a copyright, there's a creator field, there's a date field for the license, there's a quality. There are comments if you want to. So in this case, it's a comment that allows you to use the formatting of your text. You can define related assets, for instance, assets that use the same topic or that might be of similar interest. And if it's enabled, you can also see the geolocation, or simply you can also set the geolocation if you want to. So much about the metadata. Let's go back and let's see what we can actually change. So I click on the edit button. Again, I see the preview, and you will notice there are options up here and also down there. It's the same. You can simply open the options, and now you can, for instance, you can crop the image, or you can rotate it, you can flip it, you can change the size, you can adjust brightness and contrast, apply effects, change the color space, and save it in different other formats. Of course, I can also create a preview. So let's go back to the crop feature. I just want to crop this area here, click on the preview, And now the new image will be created in its original size. If I can zoom in if I want to, so I can take a more closer look at the new image that will be created after I save the image. Keep in mind that you can use the Workplace integration to open, edit and save the files directly in your desktop using, for instance, Adobe Photoshop, Microsoft Word, Excel and so on without the need of a browser. Of course, you can also select multiple images at the same time and apply the same settings to all the images. I want to show you the versioning, so all the different versions of the image. If there has been any changes in the image, let's just compare the first and for instance the second version of the image. What we will see here, yeah, there has been any kind of effect applied, so the image has been changed. The metadata is actually still the same, there's nothing new here. So maybe let's compare a different version. Let's do the same step again. And this time we see that also the text has been modified as well, because we see green, which means new, red, which means it has been removed. Then we have the information tab that we have already seen. What is interesting here in this information tab, you see the different type of links that you can use. You can also see the usage of the container. This is only interesting if you are using the same object in different variations, because you're using a connected or a linked copy. So you will see more objects here. You can see the access statistics. Here you will see the views, the downloads, the uploads. In case of the downloads, you will also see the user, or if you send somebody download link in an email and the user will not be authenticated in the system, you will just simply see the IP address and also the geolocation. So you can open the map and see where this user is actually coming from. You can see the detailed meta information. It's some kind of metadata information report that presents you all the original metadata that has been saved in the image. So it's still there, but it's not really of your interest. But here you can see, for instance, IPTC tags have been implemented in here, and also XMP, and you can see the information. This is also used to extract the information and map it to your own metadata schema. And we can also see the people that have received this asset. In this case, nobody has received the asset so far. Let's close this one. Let's take a look at some of the videos. So I open one of those videos here. And what might be interesting when you take a look at the videos, it looks pretty much the same. But when we take a look up here again, we see there have been some persons marked in the video. So when I click on one of these persons, I will jump to the frame in the video and I can see the actual person. If you want to select other persons in the video or any kind of objects in the video, you can use this select tool. What else do we have? We can also define a video text track. So you can define video text tracks in different languages. You can select the start and end. So when you say, okay, this is my start point, let's play the video, this is my end point, and then provide the text. If you're using the artificial intelligence cloud services, the video text track can also be created automatically by using speech to text. You can also create the keywords for your video automatically. The same applies for images as well. Keep in mind that the cloud services need to be activated. There's also a detect faces feature. If you want to detect faces in the video, you can edit the video and you can also embed the video. Let's click on the embed button. So what you see here is now you have different options and you can just simply copy this code and paste it into your web pages, so the video will be integrated into the web page. We can also edit the video. In this case, we again have the options. So we can change, for instance, the size. We can adjust some of the parameters like the sharpness, the gamma correction, brightness, and so on. We can flip it. We can rotate it. We can save it in different other formats. So we can, for instance, overwrite the original video. We can create a video for our video player. That means different sources will be created. And in any other formats that have been enabled in the system. What you can also do, you can cut the video. So let's start the video. We are playing the video. We pause it. We set a cut point. And we continue playing. And we set the next cut point. We want to remove the segment in between our points, so we can simply click on it and it will be marked as red, so you can remove it. Of course, you can always remove your cut points again if you don't want them. Keep in mind you need to save the video in order to render the new version of the video. As we see down there, there are already two versions available. Of course, the original video and then a different format, also in a different size of the video. So much about video editing. Again, you can select multiple videos at the same time, and you can edit the videos in bulk mode. Again, we have the metadata as in all the other objects. The versioning is also available, so you can go back to an older version or compare the versions of the videos. Now let's go back to our graphics folder. Let's take a look at the upload feature. You can upload files by simply dragging it from your desktop into the new window. You can also select the files from your local hard drive. You can select it from your Dropbox account, from an FTP server, and you can start uploading them. There's also a function to uncompress files automatically, so the folders and the files included in the compressed file will be created in the system. You can compress all the files that you want to upload into a zip file. You can resize the images automatically. You can check for duplicates. So in case the same content of a file exists already, you will receive a warning and you will see the location of the file. You can also remove the files again on a certain date and time. I will select some files. So let's pick this one and this one. I think they're not in the system right now. So I can simply start now uploading these two files. After the file have been processed and analyzed, I can close my upload window again and I will see the files. Keep in mind that you can also enable the system to force you to provide metadata during the upload. So in this case, you will see the image and also the metadata fields one by one. So you can check, has the metadata been extracted already? Has there been some metadata in the image or not? So you can simply just provide the metadata during the upload as well. In this case, we have now a larger wallpaper, and what we see here, there has been some metadata in the image already presented. Our other image is this one here. Let's check it as well, and we see, yes, there's also some of the metadata available. Now let's take a quick look if you want to edit some of those items in the same time. So I select my first item that I just uploaded and the second item using the Control key, and I click on the Edit button again. So I will see my selected items, and what I will notice now is that some of the fields are disabled because there is different metadata already existing in those fields. And as a user, I should not be able to override the already existing different metadata. If it would be the same metadata for both of the items, or if it would be empty, like in this case, I can pre-fill the metadata for all the selected items. Of course, I can also render the images or change the images if I want to as well. The same applies for all the other assets. There's one last feature that I want to show you. In this case, I want to be informed if something has been changed with the 2 new images uploaded. Keep in mind you can do the same on folders as well. So everything that is saved in the folder, you will be informed if there are some changes happening in there. So let's right click the item and you will see notify me. Let's click on it, and now I can say I want to be automatically informed in pretty much real time when a new update will happen. So when somebody, for instance, uploads a new image and overwrites the existing one, or when somebody just changes the image in any way, when somebody moves the image to a different location or deletes the image. So it's up to you what you want to select, and you just save the settings. So that's the last feature that I wanted to show you. Now you should have a good overview about most of the features of the system. Thank you.